Welcome back to PitCast Xtras. I'm your host, Mark Stetson, and we got a great show for you today. I'm sitting down with Alex Gallafent. Alex is currently the New York City-based correspondent for the public radio program The World, which is a co-production of BBC World Service, PRI, and WGBH Boston. Alex's show goes up tonight, December 10th, on the main stage at 8 p.m. It's a really cool show. It's a really cool concept of blending improv and audio pieces and a full stage show. It's going to be really cool. I'm sure listening to Alex Gallafent, he'll be way more eloquent about his own show than I will be. The quicker we get him talking about it, the better. Right, folks? It's like I'm asking you, but there's no way that you could possibly answer me at this point. What? Oh, yeah? You want him to talk about it right now? Well, okay, Pittisons. Here you go. Here is Alex Gallafent.
The Jonesonian Institution is the finest museum in all the world.
Hello, Pleasure Palace. Your ding-dongs, doo-doos, and woo-ha's.
Bring the portal to the spirits that will come. Speak through me.
Removes the sounds of the crickets and the babbling brooks verzweint.
1945, 1946, sub-1947.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now, while gullible patriots just lap this up.
I would hide in dumpsters, jump out, cut hair. Alleyways, jump out, cut hair. I would
transmitting my voice through paper. 1 sheet. 2 sheets.
I can tell you more about it if you want to hear. It's just been something I think about sometimes.
Join me and my marvelous team of archivists for A Night at the Jonesonian, Monday, December 10th, 8 p.m. at the People's Improv Theatre.
So I guess you can take it one of two ways. The show itself is a lecture. That's the form of the show. Mm-hmm. It's sort of me on stage delivering a lecture, which sounds thoroughly dull. But I promise it's not. It's a lecture. It's about very boring things. Come and see it.
It's the best of all worlds.
It's the best of all worlds. No, it's a fake museum, an invented museum called the Jonesonian Institution, and this museum is full of fake exhibits, all of which have been invented, created with the help of some of the pit's best improvisers. So the idea is I'm delivering this lecture as if it's a real place, as if this is a real museum, and during the show you hear and you see things that are presented as if they are wax cylinder recordings or ethnomusicologist recordings from the 1930s or lost cassette tapes washed up on desert islands, but all of the tapes feature some voices that you'd recognize turned into these sort of archivey sounding things,
right? As if you found them in their actual time period, and now we're listening to them.
Exactly. So the way the show is created, at least the audio parts, is I'll come up with an idea with one of the improvisers, back and forth, we'll kind of figure out what we want to do. Then I'll, like a radio interview, I work in radio, go along and interview the improviser in character and sort of coax them this way or that, ask them to redo things, shift things around, sort of right on the spot. And then I've got this, long piece of tape, half an hour, shorter, longer, from which I'll construct, a 1.5, 2 minute thing, like sequence of thoughts, and then I'll take that audio and then run it through various sound design, sound processing things, add effects, add music, add different things to make it sound like this object from decades and decades ago.
So you're taking improv, which is generally a very present thing, and you're constructing it to make it sound like it happened decades ago.
Yeah, and also like the I think one of the attractive things for me about using a really good improviser is the point of these the point of the show is to present things that kind of sound like they could be real. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like something that's so obviously written and quote unquote funny that it's a sketch. I want these things to sound like they oh my goodness, that's very, very strange. it actually kind of could be, oh, but no, it's got a joke in it, so it's clearly made up. And so if you use an improviser, a really good improviser, what you're getting is, sort of a natural speech that you don't necessarily get from sketch, even if sketch is acted fantastically well. There's a sort of structure built into a way a sketch is written that I kind of get from the other direction. I get all the material, and then I sort of impose the structure on it afterwards through editing.
That's really cool. I was listening to a few of them today. I listened to the Chris Griggs NASA piece, which I thought was awesome, because you had a little piece in the beginning from the actual of the actual landing.
So this is a piece that's in the show on Monday. I can play you a little bit if you want. I kind of don't want to give the game away too much.
Oh, sure, sorry.
But no, it's totally fine. So this is the idea for this one is in the beginning of the 60s, JFK had this big speech, and he said, the goal for NASA is to send a man to the moon and return him safely to Earth. And until, the end of that decade, and this is all true, it wasn't clear that they were going to do it or not. It was just a giant task. No one knew if this was actually going to be possible.
Right.
And so the idea for this is, what if NASA, knowing that they had to do it, but not being sure if they could do it, created recordings, scripts that made it look like they hand landed on the moon when they hadn't. Because there are the conspiracy theories that people never landed on the moon.
Yeah,
so this is sort of
all made in like a Hollywood studio.
Exactly. So this is sort of playing off that, and it's the sound of one of those recording sessions where a guy is sort of trying with a straight face to say we've landed on the moon.
Great.
See if it comes out.
Buzz, this is Houston. Radio check and verify. TV circuit breaker in. Roger, we're getting a picture on the TV. There's a great deal of contrast in it. Currently, it's upside down on your monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail. Guys, this kind of makes me sound stupid. I just kind of feel like I would know about the... All right, fine. Stand by.
I love that standby.
Okay,
Stand
Neil,
by.
we can see. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. While gullible patriots just lap this up that we're on the moon. How's that? Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Roger, we copy. Roger, Columbia, this is Houston. Reading you loud and clear on Omni Charlie. Omni Charlie. That sounds real.
Okay, we're back.
Great. Yeah, I love that sarcastic Chris Griggs voice. Just that that weaselly NASA engineer voice.
Yeah, and we recorded that one in Simple Studios just before a class was coming up, and it was a bit boomy, a bit echoey, and I was worried that it wasn't going to work. But it's sort of incredible what you can fix. And all the NASA sound is just like on a NASA website. They got recordings from the Apollo 11 mission. You just grab them and use them. I mean, presumably you can grab them and use them. I mean, I grabbed them and I used them.
Yeah. I mean, if you're able to do it, if you have the right equipment, you could do anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of an interesting, thought. Like, I do have like radio kit. I got a portable recording kit that I can go out and interview people with. But frankly, compared to video, audio stuff is super cheap.
Really?
Well, compared to like an expensive video camera, like having a little portable, recorder might cost you like $150.
Oh yeah.
Compared to like I don't know what a video camera costs.
Oh yeah.
But probably a lot more. So I'm not saying it's like it doesn't cost anything.
No, but like in comparison.
Yeah, and most people have GarageBand or something else like that on their computer. So this stuff is not like out of reach technologically, I think.
No, you're totally
if anyone's interested in, and I'd love to help.
Like we were talking before with audio being such like a almost forgotten medium, it's like because of that fact, like the only reason why most people get that audio equipment is just to cooperate with video.
Yeah, and you've also got things like, SoundCloud on people's phones. There are all sorts of easy ways to capture capture sound in pretty damn good quality now.
Yeah.
And actually that's sort of, the way public radio started, decades ago, that it wasn't the sort of like big NPR,
Right.
behemoth, like, sort of bestriding the media landscape. It was a network, as I understand it, a network of people who just wanted to make their own news, make their own features, make their own programs. And frankly, it's the same sort of principle. It's sort of like indie radio was public radio, and just like we have indie teams, I feel like this can be equally democratic.
Yeah, I mean, same with with producing video on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like as long as you have like a piece of equipment, you can make it, put it up there, and see what happens.
Yeah, and podcasts are easy to put together. I've sort of resisted turning this into a podcast for the sort of the reasons that I described. That I think it sort of, these seem to work better on stage, which means it's
yeah.
You get fewer people to see it, but at this stage, at least, I kind of want to showcase them in the best way.
Which crazy thing about that, like that something that is, these audio pieces work better when they're put in front of a live audience, which is kind of a cool thing to consider. Yeah,
it is fun. Yeah, and I'm not quite sure why it is, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's partly the pictures, I think, and I think the framework of it being a lecture. You come in, there's going to be a program. Right. There's going to be sort of music at the top. The whole thing's is sort of set up like you're walking into a lecture theater.
Right.
So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, it's
you're not just sitting. Yeah, you're not just sitting at your computer playing a funny audio clip. You're in a world.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Which is all this stuff. It just needs context to breathe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Each piece I listened to was completely different and was from a completely different time period. Like one from 1925.
Yeah.
It's a really cool idea. It's basically the idea that we're watching you give a lecture as these things that are part of your museum are coming to life.
Right, and each of the audio elements is accompanied by like a slide, like an old photograph that are sort of Creative Commons photos, and hopefully when you see the picture and you hear the sound, it sort of allows you to sort of really believe in this invented character, this invented story, in a way that hopefully it's sort of richer than if you were just looking at a picture and reading it, or if you were just hearing the sound on its own. Which is why I think while I think they work online, they're on a Tumblr and it's sort of fun, and you have the sort of the contextual information. I think seeing it on stage, when the context is delivered to you live, you've got a picture, and then you hear the sound, the whole thing hopefully comes together in a really sort of rich and transporting way. And actually, there are other things that aren't audio segments in the show. There are a couple of live scenes. So Ryan Farrell and Katie Carlson are play archivists in the show, so live in the show, and they do a couple of things. They do a scene that I've written, which I say is by the 8-year-old Arthur Miller, and it's a little scene called Daddy Longshoreman. So they do that, and that's great. Katie does a little parody of Harold Pinter, again when he was a very young boy.
Lots of pregnant pauses.
Well, there's actually a twist to that.
Nice.
So sort of, but not quite. And then towards the end of the show, there's a long sequence featuring a fake beard that I say belonged to 3 generations of Abraham Lincoln impersonators from Utah. So Ryan does that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's a whole sort of zoo of things. And actually, this show, I had a go at doing it a few months ago, and it was sort of a tryout, and it was fine. And I think some of it worked well, lots of it didn't. The problem with it was that I'd sort of imposed a sort of like backstory for my character, the archivist, and it kind of just felt a bit slapped on. So this time it's been rewritten. The great Kathleen Carr, she's going to hate me for that, but she's wonderful improviser. She's in Birds, does the scene a lot. Kathleen is directing.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, she's wonderful. So she's directed this, which has been great to kind of help me see the show in a way that I haven't really been able to because I'm so deep into it.
Sure.
Yeah. So there's a much better story that goes with the whole thing now. So it's a sort of like a mini play now.
Cool. So is it a half hour long? An hour long?
It's an hour.
It's a full hour.
It's a full hour. I'm hoping that I get it all in the hour and they don't shut me down.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot to put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, kind of like a lecture you'd hear at a museum. Like there's just a lot of information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So, where'd you come up with the concept?
Well, I suppose, I mean, I wish I could say I was sitting on the toilet, Mark, and my best ideas come to me on the toilet, and suddenly, between wipes, it was there. It's a horrific thought.
Yeah. But yet, so many great ideas actually do happen when you're on the shitter.
Most of my good ideas, actually, are in the shower. Lots of good ideas. Sometimes I feel like I should have showers throughout the day, if only to get better ideas.
So would you say the ideas you get in the shower are cleaner ideas than the ideas that you'd get sitting on the toilet?
All my ideas are clean, Mark. All my ideas are clean. Here's where the idea came from. So my day job is in radio. I work in public radio. And my background before I started doing radio is in theatre and music and sound design and acting and da-da-da in the UK. And for a long time, I've sort of had at the back of my mind, wouldn't it be fun to try and combine these worlds a little bit? And I'd never really gotten around to it. And I woke up in the middle of the night, a few months ago, and thought, just get on with it. Sort of slapping myself subconsciously,
it's time.
Yeah, it's time. Just do it. And I think that's one of the great things about the Pit community. People just kind of have their ideas and they get on and do them. So some of that must have rubbed off on me. So I emailed Toby and said, can I have a slot? And then I had a slot, and then I had to write a show.
Right.
And I suppose one of the other sort of selfish reasons as well of doing it this way is that it allowed me as a sort of a beginning improviser. I've done a lot of acting, but I'm new to improv. It allowed me to invite some of my favorite improvisers and get a chance to work with them and get a chance to know them. So that's been great as well. I guess the idea for the audio bits predated the show a little bit, but it sort of came from the same place. And then it was like, I'm starting to gather these things. What can I do with them?
Sure. And what would you say that you learned from the first show that you've implemented in the second?
So the first show, the archivist character, the character that I play, had a sort of story going alongside the lecture that he had been spurned, that he'd been turned down by a woman, and so there was this sort of you would get hints of this story dropped into the lecture, like a photograph of a Kay's diamond ring, or he would be drinking a lot during the show and get increasingly drunk, or there would be hints that he'd lost a lot of money and he was in trouble and his whole world was collapsing around him as the lecture went on. And I guess this is a good indication that it didn't really work, because I remember during the show, at one point, sort of 2/3 in, going, "Oh yes, I'm supposed to be pretending that I'm a little bit more drunk by this stage." So okay, right, I'm gonna put on the drunk acting, start looking through the top of your forehead, and it just didn't work. I don't think it spoiled the show, but it felt it felt sort of like slapped on.
Right.
So this time, what we've tried to do is find a way that allows the form of the lecture to exist sort of unmolested. It's a lecture. That's the form of the show. And at the same time, lay underneath that a couple of scenes, one scene at the top, one scene in the middle, sort of during an intermission, and then a moment at the end that sort of support the philosophy of the show in a sort of a light way. And the philosophy of the show is essentially, this is a museum that, unlike the big museums, unlike the Smithsonians of the world, celebrates the marginal, celebrates the things that we've forgotten, the small characters of history, the things that, just are hidden away in drawers and in dusty archives. It's not like the big Mona Lisas, it's like the sketch done by, Manet when he was 10.
Right.
Or the sketch done by Manet's butler. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of stuff, and it's and
1 or 2 degrees removed from the actual historical event.
and the sort of without getting too sort of weighty about it, the argument that I hope is sort of in there very, very subtly somewhere is that these things have value. That actually there's something about marginal, hidden background stuff, people, that's fantastic and magical and valuable.
Yeah, it's magic in the mundane.
Yeah, exactly. Although very few of these are mundane. You know, they're sort of like, they're just a bit off.
Right. And would you say that you, in general, are more fascinated with those
mundane?
things?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm terribly, terribly mundane.
Yeah. Are you just interested in boring things? No, like, I mean, are you interested in like the things that like are marginal? Like are like those things are kind of more peripheral? Like kind of do those catch your eye a little bit more?
I don't know if I'd say it's like if that's like a guiding sort of like philosophy for my own life, but sure, I mean, absolutely, and that's certainly part of my job as well. It's to find, you know, I work for an international news show, and you know, we try and cover the world in ways that are a little bit different from, you know, the CNN and the whoever else. You know, we're trying to find those little stories or stories that approach big issues from an unusual place.
Very cool. So the show on Monday, you use a lot of pit improvisers. Who can we expect to see or hear from on Monday?
Well, in terms of people you can expect to see, you can see Ryan Farrell, Katie Carlson, both of whom are fantastic. They did the show the first time, and I'm very grateful to them that they're going to do it again. Plus a great actor, not a pit person, a great actor called Nick Lewis. And he was the star of an off-Broadway show a little while ago called WTC View. Got a great write-up in the Times. He's a fantastic actor. He's a friend. So he's playing the part of the chief executive of the entire museum. And, you know, there's a sort of philosophical conflict between my character and his. So those are the people you can expect to see. In terms of people you can expect to hear, let's see if I can remember everybody. This is going to be embarrassing if I forget people. So there's a wonderful comedian called Andy Ross, and Andy is a friend. He's one of the first friends I made here in Brooklyn. He runs a storytelling comedy show called Real Characters at McNally Jackson every month. Fantastic show. Go and see it. So he does one. And then in terms of pit people, we've got Sarah Nowak, Ashley Ward, Nate Starkey, Natasha Rothwell, Julie Sharbert, Bob Culhan, Micah Sherman, Chris Griggs, Dan Hodap. Dan's is very, very funny.
That's a stacked cast. Just having heard a few of the audio tracks, it just sounds like it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, I would love. I don't know what I'm going to do after this, but I really feel like that this the nexus of improv and audio, you know, is sort of a little bit untapped, you know, and I don't even necessarily mean like sketch audio, although sketch audio is fantastic, and that's equally sort of, I think, an area that we can be doing, we as a community can be doing more of. But I would love to find interesting ways to move this on. Yeah.
I feel like audio. I think we were talking about this before. Is that audio has become this forgotten medium because people feel like we've technologically moved past it, but there's still so much to be done.
Absolutely, and listen, like, you know, I mean, I work in radio, and radio is like one of these extraordinary forms that, you know, at the advent of every subsequent technology, people have said, well, you know, that's it, goodbye, that's the end of the radio,
right.
See you later. And radio has remained this extraordinarily resilient form, and I think there are sort of good reasons for that. You know, one is that the mode of distribution for radio always changes. You know, so yes, you can listen to radio through, you know, AM and then FM, but now you can listen to podcasts and you can listen to radio streaming on your mobile device. So the idea that, you know, radio is sort of forgotten about because people don't have radios doesn't make sense. People are able to access sound just as much, even more than they ever were. And there's something about the form that allows, like the medium, that allows you to just, you meet it halfway as a listener. You know, like television is wonderful, but it's sort of passive, right? You know, you sort of watch it and everything's done for you.
Right.
With radio, with audio, you know, your mind meets the mind of like the people in the sound, sort of halfway in the middle, and you sort of create what's sort of buzzing around there in the center, and that's really exciting. Yeah. It's an active, you know, medium.
Yeah, your mind colors it in.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a face for radio. Old joke.
I think that radio and audio is just, to me, is a fascinating medium for exactly that reason, and it sparks your imagination in a way that other mediums don't.
Yeah, and I think that there are also, you know, it's one of the things that I'm sort of trying to figure out, everyone's trying to figure out in sort of the audio world. we're sort of now conditioned to respond to video links, for instance. Someone posts a piece of audio, like within Facebook or whatever. For some reason, it sort of seems less clickable. I think you don't often do it. Maybe it's because we're used to like visual information when we're online, and so there are also sort of interesting things that you can do that I'm going to try and do, combining like an audio centric piece of work with enough sort of visual information that kind of keeps you there, but isn't a video.
Yeah.
So like, I did a promo for this show, and it's really just an audio thing, but there are slides that kind of go along with it, but it's not a video, and that's sort of fun.
By the way, Alex and I are drinking proper tea. Alex made me tea when we walked in, and
tea from England.
Tea from England.
Imported tea.
Actual imported English tea. How'd you get it through customs? What kind of tea is this?
This is a supermarket, but a good supermarket breakfast blend. It's called Waitrose Gold.
Waitrose Gold.
A terrible joke. This is not my joke, but here's a terrible, terrible punny joke. Why do Marxists only drink...
This is great already.
Such a good joke, isn't it? Come and see this joke Monday at 8.
The Pit main stage.
All right, no. So, why do Marxists only drink herbal tea?
Why?
Because proper tea is theft. Just a pathetic joke.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tea and the cookies. He gave me cookies earlier, which were delicious. So for all of you listening to this, definitely come by the Pit December 10th at 8 p.m.
That's Monday.
Monday.
Oh, that's the day that this is going out, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, so today. So come by tonight at 8 p.m. on the main stage for a night at the Jonesonian with Alex Gallafent.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in advance.
This last segment is a piece that Alex did with Ashley Ward called The Last of the Ham Radios. That's not going to be in the show tonight, so it's a little bit of a bonus track. So check it out.
Hello. Well, this is Lady Jane 43. This is my first transmission. I am very excited. I'm going barefoot, so no amplifier. I've got a glossary of terms. If anyone wants to chime in. This is a homebrew. I ordered this from JCPenney. I made this, built this radio myself. So if you want to talk about that, as long as you don't have a IQ 0 / it's a IQ of 0. I love this glossary. Just here at home. No visitors today. Oh, hello? Hello? This is Sweet Jane 43. Sorry, I'm for Lady Jane. I just started. I'm sorry. Did I lose you? Oh. Well, I cannot believe how long it's taken me to stumble into this community because I love language. I love words. I'm very verbal. What a language, huh? So great. Anybody tried that Greek yogurt? I'd love to chat about that if anybody's into that at all. Get tired of hearing my own voice. I hope you don't. It's a thicker yogurt. I did some shopping this weekend. I don't know if people like to shop. I went to JCPenney. I had to get a new bra. If anyone want to talk about that, I could... It's a B cup. It's a B cup.
Well, that about wraps it up for PitCast Extras for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can get out tonight to go see A Night at the Jonesonian. Once again, it's on the main stage. It's at 8 p.m. So if you have a chance, check it out. If not, just keep seeing shows as much as you can. Keep taking classes at the Pit. Check out the new Pit Bar under Simple Studios. I haven't been there yet, but I've heard it's pretty swank. And keep listening to the PitCast. Definitely check out Ileana and Mo's PitCast this Wednesday. But till then, Keep it spiffy, Pittisons.